All right, let's break this down a little because we're listening to a lot of the medical experts talking about ligatures and potential abrasions on the neck. So, Ashley, let's start with you. It seems like the prosecutor is trying to flush out that there may be abrasions on Chloe, that being the 5-year-old victim's neck. Maybe they're trying to make the argument that this is not a strangulation or an accident with pajama pants, but instead that Kelsie Thomas strangled her 5-year-old daughter with her hands. Are you kind of piecing that together as well, or is that just me?
I think you're right. I think that's exactly what this medical examiner is trying to prove. And what the way that, the testimony in this case that I found the most compelling from her so far is when she said, when you're looking at a hanging with a 5-year-old who has a very low body weight, you don't tend to see these type of intense ligature marks like the child had in this case. So I think she's, getting to a point where the prosecutor is going to try and wrap that up at the end in closing and say, look, the forensics just don't match up with an accidental hanging for a child who, may weigh 40 pounds, right? That's a big 5-year-old, but I mean, still, like it looks more like the child was strangled and then placed into that position, whether they were strangled with the pajama pants or strangled with by her mother's own hands. I think that is the exact point that the medical examiner is trying to get across right now.
What do you think we can get more from either this prosecutor or this defense attorney to push us to the edge of our seat and maybe listen in a little bit more thoroughly?
Well, I think that's kind of the problem that you typically see with a bench trial versus a jury trial. I mean, when you have a jury trial, typically you have, 12 people in there who are not attorneys that do not know the law. The attorneys try to get away with a little bit more, try and be more convincing, more persuasive. And they know that they're not going to get away with that with just a bench trial in front of a judge. So they're probably not trying as hard. I always think it's a huge gamble to go with the bench trial because the judge knows the law and is not going to be impressed by the typical theatrics of a jury trial. She's going to be looking at the evidence, and certainly there are arguments to be made on both sides in this case.